Today we're going to be talking about HR Help Desk Cloud, modern service delivery with that product. From an agenda standpoint, I'm going to do a brief intro of who I am and who we are at Apex IT. I'll cover a little bit about some best practices that we've seen over the years. We've got lots of experience in this space. And then I'm going to introduce the product, talk about what HR Help Desk Cloud is and the capabilities that it has, talk about a bit from a business case standpoint, and then I'm going to jump into the application and show you the product itself. So it's a pretty neat product. And then at the end of it, we've got some time for Q&A. So if you like, ask questions throughout, or if you want to hold it to the end, that's just fine as well. Again, my name is Keegan Olson. I run our HCM practice here at Apex IT. I've been working with companies all across basically the world over the last 15 plus years, implementing HR technologies and talent management systems and service delivery platforms for HR. So we've got a lot of great experience. Apex IT as a company, we've been around since the mid-90s. We're a platinum partner with Oracle, so a very strategic partner. We work in kind of two areas, and I'll talk a little bit more about those, HCM and CX, and we're award-winning consultancy, which we're pretty proud of. We really value doing a great job for our customers, and we work in a lot of different products. What we're talking about today is HCM Cloud Help Desk, and from an HR service delivery, we worked with a lot of products over the years and developed a lot of really nice best practices and successful implementations. Like I said, we at Apex really focus on two pillars. I like to show this slide because, one, we understand HCM. We're a full-service consultancy. We implement HCM Cloud, the Talent Management Cloud, all of Oracle's latest suite of cloud-based products into the Fusion platform. And HCM Cloud Help Desk is part of that mix. We also work in the CX space, aka CRM, which is sales and service and marketing automation. That's relevant for HR Help Desk because HR Help Desk is really a blend of both of those. And we at Apex IT really understand how those two fit together and can apply those HR practices and policies that we know and then able to apply those to the customers that we work with. Like I said, we're a full-service consultancy. We work with upfront planning, success workshops, assessment, helping to build business cases, all the way through implementation, from project management to technical setup, technical integration work, training, delivery, test planning, all that kind of stuff. And then after go live, we help with from a managed services standpoint and a maintenance, helping to add on additional feature packs and other things that are released by Oracle on a regular basis. But don't take my word for our how good we are, so to speak. You can go out on the Oracle Cloud Marketplace. Got a lot of great customer reviews out there. We're the highest rated implementation partner out on that space, and we're pretty proud of that. And that's ultimately because we get great references and referrals from our existing customers. So now to the good stuff. Before I get into HR Help Desk Cloud, it's always good to talk about, well, what's the challenge? What's the best? Why do people get involved with in the HR Help Desk? So when we look at HR Help Desk, the challenge is, what do today's employees expect? Well, HR has a big challenge. They need to know who their employees are. Their employees expect access to modern channels. They need quick answers. They don't want them to lose the requests or issues. HR needs to be able to secure the info. Employees expect mobile accessibility. They also want intuitive self-service tools. It's very important. They also want 24/7 support. So they want to be able to answer their questions, especially like millennials and the latest generations. They're on their phone. They're up all the time. They're really working on in a different, outside of that 9 to 5 time frame. So HR needs to be there to be able to support that. But the challenge is that oftentimes, and we run into this all the time with customers, that they have trying to support all that with limited staff and resources. They don't have huge budgets to spend. They have, frankly, a lot of times HRs, they don't have systems that they can track these things, and they're really relegated to phone and email. They have limited automation. They don't have integrated systems, so there's a lot of manual effort, and they're heavy on paperwork. So when you think about, okay, so what do best-in-class HR help desk organizations look like? Well, they really drive their service and their employees through modern channels. They need to make sure that they're able to support modern channels. They need to be set up organizationally in a cost-effective support model. So in other words, they don't want their most seasoned resources to be the ones that are answering the rudimentary questions. And in order to do that, they need to leverage centralized tools. And HR Help Desk is that centralized tool to take all those inquiries, manage it, and resolve it in an efficient manner. These modern HR service organizations are data-driven. Most HR teams don't have any kind of legacy system or really good insight into what's going on within their, within their ecosystem. What are people reporting? So they need to be more data-driven. And you'll see that with, with very efficient HR organizations. They know what's going on and they know what to expect. So in order to do that, they need to make sure, as a management team, they need to be able to enable their HR with tools that make them consistent and efficient with their time. And that thereby empowers less experienced HR teams or HR members to answer more questions. And that's how you get into that centralized and an efficient model. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a few minutes. And they need to be able to empower employees. In today's world, you need to have self-service and you need to be able to let employees do things. If they don't, if you don't let the employees do what they want to do on the device that they want, it can lead to unhappiness and general frustration, and that ultimately can lead to attrition. So it's an important concept to get on there. So when you think about it, well, how do you get there? Well, first you need to enable that HR. What's the roadmap to get there? They need to be able to know the employee that they're talking to. They need to know their history. They need to know their needs, and they need to be able to get them answers and ultimately resolve their issue in a very expedient manner. If none of those happen, then there's an issue, and they're not doing things the right way. So they also need to be organized. So they need to be organizationally set up in a manner that less experienced HR professionals have information and the tools that they can to resolve more issues without having to escalate to more senior level staff. The more that issues are escalated to senior level staff, the higher cost of resolution that is from an HR standpoint. Because it takes more time, it takes more resources, essentially, et cetera. Or HR needs to be efficient as well. They need to leverage as much automation and integration as they can. And leveraging tools like chat and chatbot and self-service components and employee-facing knowledge base, things like that. Those are all very important pieces in order to be able to serve and be consistent with service. And it needs to be multiple channels. It has to be more than phone and email. Phone is a very inefficient channel. It's great for service standpoint, but each HR person can only take one phone call at a time, whereas if you're using self-service, there's opportunity to be more efficient and work through issues in a more quick fashion. So things like that are very important. And you also need to be secure, especially with regulations and GDPR. HR Help Desk Cloud is a great tool because it's all native within the HCM Cloud platform. And then also HR organizations need to be measurable. So you need to have the analytics and the dashboards and other things like that in order to drive that insight. So things like that are all very important for an HR organization to be efficient and effective. So how does HR Help Desk help? Well, it helps with improving efficiency and visibility into the operations. It enables the organizations to work through transformation efforts to go into like a centralized shared services model. We often see that HR Help Desk is implemented during that time. That multi-channel service is how HR Help Desk helps. It helps organizations standardize process so that they can be consistent and effective in the processes that they're working through. And improved employee experience is important because when you're able to understand where things are at and provide answers to employees when they're checking in on status, that improves their experience and makes them happier employees, and ultimately they're going to be better satisfied and be more productive in that scenario. Get better reporting analytics. Some companies look at it from a cost reduction or ROI standpoint. Being more efficient, you can get some really good savings. I'm going to talk about a business case a little bit later. It also helps us from a compliance standpoint. So being able to report on issues in a consistent manner, in an easy manner, is very important. And being compliant with certain regulations and being able to prove that they are is important. So ultimately, HR Help Desk kind of helps an organization service all of these different, at the top of this, the applicants, retirees, and managers, et cetera, in a very efficient manner. And ultimately, this is what a modern service center looks like. You've got Tier 0 on the top here, where you're leveraging self-service and a centralized knowledge base, the ability for employees to add and manage cases, things like that, and a searchable knowledge base. And then you get to the point where, hey, if those don't answer, then you can go to tier 1, where you've got your employee service center answering the phone and emails and mail and self-service inquiries and potentially, servicing the chat tool as well, things like that. And then, if they can't answer, then it escalates to tier 2 and tier 3, where you get the more senior level people answering more of the complex types of questions. And the idea being that you resolve up to 85, maybe 90, maybe even more at that tier 0, tier 1. And most organizations are nowhere close to that. They maybe get 40, 50% resolution at that tier 1 level. So there's definitely opportunity. And as you increase and you go up that thread, the cost of resolution increases. So it's important to push as much down that, and there's a great ROI story that you can write for that. So when we implement these, who do we see that uses this? Oftentimes it's basically the entire HR organization that can use this, starting with that employee services center in the top center there, benefits and payroll, compensation, employee relations, HR. So this is a tool that enables collaboration across all of those different groups. And there's literally thousands of different types of inquiries that you can link into an HR help desk platform like HCM Cloud. These are just some examples of what companies have logged in HR help desk before. These are types of requests, or these are issues, or these are questions, or things like that employees have logged within their HR organization. Employee relations is always in the key because there's always sensitive issues that get logged into the system as well, from an attendance standpoint or disciplinary action, working through discriminatory things. So there's a degree of security that we have, linked in here that can certainly is important from an HR standpoint. So when you look at the benefits, there's a lot of benefits you get from an HR help desk standpoint. You get improved service because you're able to track things centrally. I've covered some of these. You get that improved satisfaction where you get, the employee gets consistent answers. They get the right answer the first time. They get more channels to be able to answer their own questions through different devices and things like that. You get that reduction in costs where you're able to reallocate those senior level staff to more strategic initiatives like implementing other modules or focusing on policy-related things versus answering rudimentary questions. And then you get that increased visibility. So your leadership gets the meat of the system, which is, what types of inquiries are we getting, and, how can we continually improve, correlate where things coming from, and just get some better analytics about the workforce and where that's at. A couple more slides, and I'm going to get into the actual demo itself here. So when you look at HR Help Desk, this is part of the overall HCM Cloud footprint. It's tied into the core HR platform, and it is the only application out there that is native to within a HR solution. HCM Cloud is the only one that has an HR Help Desk, a service delivery platform that's native in there. So what that means is that there's no integration. It's there. It's part of HCM Cloud. There's self-service that you can set up. There's inbound and outbound email processing. There's secure and social collaboration and emailing. It inherits that HCM security, so you're not exposing any additional information that you shouldn't. There's mobile accessibility, and then lots of other things. So at its core, HR Help Desk is a case management platform, and so it allows you to track service requests. It allows your team to work together on issues, escalate, reroute, kind of manage your tasks. There's the follow-up and email communication components that are built in there. So a lot of really great features that are built in. The workspaces are tailored for HR. And so what that means is based on the type of inquiry that you get, you can tailor this. So if I'm taking a payroll-related question, I can have additional payroll-related fields show up. Or if it's a grievance, I can have a bunch of other grievance fields show up in there. And it's all done through configuration. So it's easy to tailor for your unique needs. And we're seeing that with our implementations as we're going through these, that customers are taking advantage of that because it's an extendable platform. you can get a lot of value on capturing information the first time, reducing back and forth, things like that. There's an integrated knowledge base that's tied in there. So this is a knowledge base that you as an HR organization can manage and keep up to date, and that is also accessible for your employee base as well. So you've got that internal-facing knowledge base, and you've also got an external-facing knowledge base that employees can search through whenever they like. There's a really neat templated responses. I'll show you this here in a minute. There's smart text, or you can leverage the knowledge base for crafting responses, and that way you've got consistency. So you have the same policy that's presented to different employees at different times, but it's all communicating the same message, and that way there's no he said, she said kind of that, and it's all audited within the application, and it's secure. So if you're presenting some information, you've got those persistent conversations that can be crafted as private or public, public being that it's accessible to that employee through the self-service piece, and that's accessible wherever you like. It's the same platform as HCM Cloud, so it's got that same mobile capability. You can measure performance. There's service levels that are built in there, so you can make sure that you're responding within a certain amount of time. You are escalating things appropriately, and you get some nice visibility into the overall performance of your team. There's also another really cool feature where you can create actual different forms that you can link to from other non-HCM Cloud sites, and that will actually feed into there. So these are just some examples of some forms that basically you can do surveys, you can create a series of questions. This is a product called Oracle Policy Automation, and that's tied into HR Help Desk Cloud. You create these forms, a user fills them out, and these are just a whole bunch of examples. It doesn't need to be this complex. They're all built based in Microsoft Word, and then as you are working in there, so for example, this screenshot shows you a survey form that we constructed where you create that the button within the HR Help Desk Cloud platform. They click the link, and there's a form that they fill out, and then that form would come back in as an attachment, or it can also come back in as a series of fields so you can run reports and analytics on it. So Oracle Policy Automation is a great way to reduce paperwork, to get rid of forms and have them all digitized and stored within the HR Help Desk Cloud. Pretty cool stuff. So from a reporting standpoint, a lot of organizations just feel like, just basic call reporting is good enough. Well, most organizations can't measure volume, and they don't understand performance. They can't really do that. Most of the time, reporting is very time-consuming for organizations, but it doesn't have to be. HR Help Desk Cloud comes with some really cool delivered analytics that you can use to manage your business, to understand what kinds of inquiries are coming in, who's working on what, how long is it taking us to resolve it, what kind of tasks are out there, and it can be shown at different levels. So from a manager standpoint, you can look at, how is my team doing and what's coming in. But as if you think of it from an agent or HR representative standpoint, someone who's just working inquiries as they come in, they really want to know what's going on. What do I have to respond on? What are the things that I have to do? What are my tasks that I need to perform? So that's all. There's cool dashboards that can help you with that. I'm going to show you the platform in like two minutes. I just want to do one other thing here. One of the challenges is often, budget's always a constraint for a lot of organizations, but it really doesn't have to be. Like HR Help Desk, oftentimes you can drive a lot of really nice qualitative and quantitative benefits out of it. And we can help an organization calculate that because there's different kind of groupings of things where you can drive increasing optimization, pushing more self-service, reducing call time. Those are all, quantitative benefits where you can say, if I reduce my call time by 3 minutes of a call, I've got a significant savings there because I can have less people to service more calls and things like that. You can increase automation to help drive down that call time and reduce the amount of manual cutting and pasting. You increase satisfaction, this qualitative benefit through multi-channel service. You get better quality of answer. You can have surveys to track how your team is doing so you can improve your quality, decrease risk, increase the visibility, things like that. These are all ROI types of things. So let me just walk you through a really quick example of a company and an ROI that we put together for them. So this company, these are kind of rounded out figures. They had operating budget of, HR had an operating budget of about $10 million. They had about 10,000 employees. Industry standard is about 6 to 8 interactions per customer per year. And if you do the math, it's about $125 per interaction with each of these. So let's break that down. What does that look like? Okay, so where are they coming from? And this is probably a little bit more of a mature organization where they have some degree of self-service. So a couple of them are being resolved at the tier 0 level. You got a couple that are resolved at tier 1, one that's resolved through email, and then you get a couple that are more escalations. You can see that as you go up the chain there to up to that tier 2, tier 3, the cost of resolution increases. So you can see where the breakdown is, that it's a very expensive thing to have the tier 1 increase because you have the tier 0, your tier 1, your tier 2, tier 3. All of those people had to be involved, so it costs more to your organization. So if you implement an HR help desk and you just make some small adjustments, push more tier 0, tier 1, let's say we can add one more on average, one more transaction resolved at tier 0. Let's reduce one escalation and have tier 1 resolved through self-service or through the tier 1 channel, and then we reduce these top 2. You can see that it's a really easy calculation here that we're able to save by making some process changes. It's not only just the technology, it's the process and the people that help make that change. You can create a very nice ROI. So this is like a $3 million savings for these guys. So this is a really nice ROI story for them. Ultimately, it helped pay for the entire project going through that. There's other ROI. HR Help Desk has a really nice contextual knowledge base. So we can create ROIs around knowledge deflection. You can look at it from the HR managed knowledge base. They're not having to work with IT to publish content. This is all managed by your HR team. There's less training because it's an integrated knowledge base, things like that. So lots of opportunities for a great ROI story. So we can help you put that together if that's something of interest that you're looking to work through. All right, so let me get out of this presentation. I'll start showing you the application itself and walk through. I'll spend about 20 minutes walking through that, 15, 20 minutes. All right, so I'm signed in here. This may look familiar to some of you. This is HCM Cloud, and where Help Desk comes in is on this tab here. So HR Help Desk, like I said, is integrated and native to, it's not even integrated, it's native to HCM Cloud. So you can see here that it's part of this. This is the tab that is part of my HCM Cloud landing page. So HR service requests, and I'm signed in as someone that is kind of has a broad degree of access because just for the sake of time, I don't want to have to switch around. But there's an employee level entry point, there's a agent level entry point, and then there's additional permissions for managers and, like knowledge managers, the people that are publishing content, things like this. So right out the gate, me as a person who's looking at this, I get a lot of, and I'll zoom in here a little bit so it's not quite as small. I get a lot of information shown to me. These are all open service requests. I get some different filters. My open service requests. These are service requests that I'm currently assigned to. Things like that I have that I'm actively working. You have degrees of data visibility in here. So me as a manager, I get a little bit more unassigned cases in my queue or service requests in my queue. I can search by reference number, things like that. If I want to create a new service request, it's simply I can create a service request. I can perform other updates here. If I wanted to make a change, if I wanted to assign this case to me, I could do that. I can export these lists to Excel if I wanted to run some additional data manipulation, but data analysis on the values that are coming back here. So it's kind of like a quasi-reporting tool. Lots of good information, who the primary point of contact is, things like that. So I'm just going to open up one here. This is a service request that I have access to. One sec here. I think my session might have timed out actually. So there we go. So what you're seeing here is a service request. So this is an existing service request. It shows you the title, what the severity is, who reported it, who the primary point of contact, that's also AKA the employee, what the severity is, things like that. What kind of category, what type of inquiry it is, who last updated it, who's currently assigned, what channel did it come through? Did it come through email or phone? Things like that. It has attachments here, so if I want to look at this document, I can see specifically what that is. Just open it lower there, so you can see that there's some additional information that was submitted on behalf of this. The second tab here shows the communications that have happened. So you can see that, hey, Elizabeth Maverly has responded, and John Dunbar has responded, and these are the different people that are working at. So you've got a whole communication thread. You can send emails directly from here. The system has an inbound and outbound email capability. So this is a demo site, so we don't necessarily have the inbound email configured, but any external outbound emails would show up here as well. If I wanted to, as I'm working on this, I can add an internal note that basically just says, hey, this is what I did. It also has some productivity tools where I click pound and I can add in additional what are called smart text. These are quick insights into quick blurbs that I don't have to type. I just click on that, and then it'll actually pull in information dynamically, and then I can insert this into my note. Now this is an internal note, but you get the point, right? This helps you craft responses without having to type everything over and over again. So I'll just post this, and then there we go. We got a note that is meant to be internal, so only our HR team can do that. So you can, as an HR person, you can choose what kind of information is going to be presented to the employee or not. And hope if you click the button. So there we go. So there's our internal note, and you can have different threads, kind of different responses in relation to that. So it's really kind of like almost like a Facebook kind of post. It's not social, so don't take that the wrong way. But you can have conversations about different threads in here. So it's pretty neat capabilities. The other thing that you have in here too is if, hey, I'm reviewing this and I don't really know what the answer is. This is the knowledge base is integrated in here as well. So I can look at a knowledge base article, and it's filtered based on the type of inquiry that it is. So as you're setting up your knowledge base, you filter out the different pieces of knowledge content that you want. And this can all, this isn't the greatest formatted one, but these can have pictures and embedded videos and things like that. And it also shows you related articles. So maybe this one isn't exactly what I wanted to. There might be 5 or 6 others that are there too. And I can in-seat the knowledge or link this article to this knowledge base, to this service request. And I can also use it within the communication thread too, and involve that and send that information to the employee or the employee's manager. You can see from an interaction history what's been communicated. So these are all outbound messages that were sent to Mr. Albers, our primary point of contact for this. You can see that there was another one that was sent to Lisa Jones about something. So you can see that these are all outbound. If we had inbound emails set up, those would also show like kind of an inbound looking icon here. So you get the whole history, and you can do some kind of neat things with that. Looking at the contacts, you can have multiple people aligned to this. If say it's the employee and the employee's manager, perhaps. You can have multiple people within HR working this. Right now, it's just myself that's aligned to this, but if I wanted to have 3 or 4 other people helping out on this, you can tie them to that as well. Activity-wise, you can have, you can create different tasks. If you need a reminder to call this person back, in next week, or set up a meeting for next week, you can have that. There's also another thing called action here. We can add something called an action plan. And what that does is this is a templated list of kind of business processes, if you will. So let's say this is a grievance, but let's add this grievance on here, and you can see what the standard set of tasks are, and how, so you can manage the different things that need to happen in the right sequence, and this will help you manage it. So this contact the employee to review complaints should take 1 day. This next one should take another day, and then you get 4 days for that. And then update the status of labor relations. You get 30 days for that. Schedule an appointment. So things like that. I'm going to go ahead and apply that, and I'll show you what this looks like. So you can see I got a new tab here, and you can see that all of these tasks were added to me. So now I have a structured set of tasks to work in order to resolve this overall requests. So this is really great from an employee relations standpoint, for structuring processes. And just to kind of give you we'll initiate this plan, get this going, and then you can work these to completion. So that you can see that this one started, and if I want to complete it, I just, manage this. I just want to show you the progression that this goes through. I'll just mark this one as complete, save and close, so you can see that it was completed on a certain date. And then when I refresh this, you can see that it's going to progress to that next stage. So this way you make sure that you do all of these steps in the right order before you resolve this issue. So it's kind of a neat thing. So moving on, the action plans are really cool stuff. The social aspect is pretty neat too, because you can have social conversations and share this service, some of the attributes of the service request with people that are not part of your HCM Cloud system. So maybe your legal team is not using the application and you need some input from them, or you have other people that you may need to collaborate with. You can also use this from a social collaboration within your HR organization. So if you have a question and you want to tag it to your benefits team and get a response, and you maintain ownership of the service request, you can use it from that standpoint as well. You can see here on the next tab, linked articles. You've got different, these are the different articles that are linked to it. You can see how we're doing from a response standpoint. Hey, do we hit our SLAs on these? And there's a robust audit history as well, where you can track what was updated, when it was made. You can see that it changed it from new to in progress, et cetera. And then this is a great add-on that Oracle has done. It's specifically for grievances. And this is to kind of describe the extensibility of this platform. All of what you're seeing here was done through configuration. So based on the type of inquiry, let's say it was a grievance case, this additional set of information, this grievance bolt-on was added, and it's shown, and it's only accessible to the right people. So you can extend this and add on to the HR Help Desk platform, and this is all done through configuration. So you can look at, add all of these other, these are quote-unquote custom fields, but they're all done through configuration. So you can see, what are the different steps? You can track costs. Sky's the limit here. So if you have a benefit type of inquiry, you can add other fields to track that kind of stuff. So pretty neat extensibility capabilities within the platform. Cool. So this is a really high-level overview of the solution. Let me just show you one other thing in the knowledge base. You can do keyword searches here as well. So maybe I want to search for. I'm going to open this up a little bit and search for benefit. You can see that this is all HR-facing knowledge content. I can click on this. This is pension terminology, things like that. You can see that, the formatting is different than the one that we looked at. You can put in different, like a table of contents you can link down. You can see other related articles. You can have links in here to other systems. So the idea being that, you don't necessarily want to replicate existing knowledge management platforms that you might already have, but you can use this as a complement. So you can either, one, include all the information here in Help Desk, or two, link out to the system that might have more of that information that you have, and that way you're not replicating things. So pretty cool stuff. Very convenient as well. And then finally, as I'm working this and I work towards resolution, there's a solution tab here that lets you disposition and understand what you had to do to resolve it. And we can add additional fields on here. Actually, frankly, we've done that before, just giving a drop down of what was the final disposition, and then the person who's resolving it can put in the summary and then close out the service request. So great application. There's a pretty nice roadmap of capabilities that are going to be added on to this as well. one other thing that I'll show you here in the system, and then I'll open it up for questions and maybe talk about some other activities that we have going on, is looking at this. So again, I'm signed in as an employee who has almost like a manager who has a lot of access in the system. And at the bottom of our homepage, this is our homepage where we started out, I've got different tasks and notifications. One other thing that we have here is that we have different notifications on tasks, or, you know, for example, when tasks are coming up to do, or there's service levels that are being exceeded by your service requests. Those are all things that would show up in your bell notifications. We also have drillable knowledge portals, or these are called influence. So these are analytics that you have built that are restricted based on user permission. So, you know, from the top 4 here are kind of like, these are the things that I have on my plate. You know, what are the issues that are waiting on me? What are the issues that I'm waiting on the requester, aka the employee? Did I ask them for information and it's in a holding status until I get something back? How am I doing on resolution? I can tell you right now, you don't want me in your call center because this is a terrible resolution metric, but it's a demo site, right? Any tasks that are pending my completion, you know, how's my, and then you get into the more of the management style. So how's my team doing? What kinds of inquiries are they working on? Who's got more inquiries? And I guess to point out, these are all drillable, and it's all built based on the BI analytic tool that you have in HCM Cloud. So if I want to see, oh, Mike Finkel seems like he has a lot. What is he working on? I can just drill into that number, and report will resolve, and then I can look at the actual details of those service requests. And here we go. And you can see, you know, kind of what are the things that are on here. And these are just simply reports. So if you wanted additional fields added on here, easy to do. But the nice thing is you can drill all the way down and link into the actual service request, and you can go ahead and make changes. Well, you know, Mike's got too much, so I'm gonna search and find someone else to assign it to. So something like that. So as a manager, I've got control over who I might want to have aligned to this. So cool stuff. Drillable reporting, that's very, very important. So that's there's also a capability for employees to go and search the knowledge base with just ad hoc, you know, outside the context of a knowledge base article. If I want to search for benefits, or I want to search for direct deposit, you know, things like that, they can just do some like kind of Google-like searches here and come back with the answers. And this is nice because you can have answers to questions, and they can get answers to their questions, or answers about policies or leave policies, or, you know, whatever your HR team decides to publish out here, they're able to search through here and get answers to their questions 24/7, because this is all part of their HCM Cloud package. So at this point, that's a really quick intro. There's a heck of a lot more part of application pieces to this, but I just want to give you kind of a quick high-level demo of the product.